Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, time for the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them. And we always start with the pick of the week, and once again, the pick of the week is Mr. Miracle. This week out with issue number 8. This book is something fantastic. It is so extremely, amazingly awesome. It is just, words cannot describe how awesome this book is. This book is just levels above what we are used to in comic books. Writer Tom King, artist Mitch Gerads, just doing a fantastic job. The artwork is great. The 9-panel grids, they work. The pace of it, it's excellent. It's seriously one of Tom King's greatest scripts he's ever written. And we really don't even quite get what's going on yet. We all have our ideas, we all have our theories, but this book is such a great exploration on what it means to be human and to deal with a wide range of human things to deal with. I don't know. This book is amazing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Tom King and Mitch Gerads have taken this epic story of new gods and they're telling a very grounded human story with it. And it's amazing. Seriously, this issue is great. It really focuses in on the effects of war on the mind of the people that fight the war. It's so good. And the way that Tom King is the juxtaposition of things, the way that he has scenes of war in here and then scenes of family life, of dealing with the newborn baby and things like that. It's really striking. It's really just great. It's brilliant. Fantastic stuff. Great script, great artwork. Mr. Miracle, yet again, fails to escape the pick of the week. Seriously, number 8, Mr. Miracle this week, but DC's got another real big book this week, and it's Action Comics 1000, a book 80 years in the making. Seriously, how cool is that that Action Comics has made it to issue 1000. That's so cool, so crazy. So glad that we are here to see it and buy it. I got this Steve Rude cover because that's just awesome. There's a Mike Allred cover that's really cool. Michael Cho cover is really cool. Great covers, but that's the one I really like. Comment down below, what cover did you get? Which ones did you like? Seriously though, my vote's for the Steve Rude right there. I love this book. I thought it was a great celebration of Superman, who the character is, everything that he represents. Each factor of the mythos of Superman is represented in this issue with a bunch of just celebration. Absolutely, it's fun. It starts off with a story by Dan Jurgens, and it's a nice little fun light read that's really kind of fun. A lot of these stories in this book are a little doofy, but we are celebrating 80 years of Superman comics, and most of them are kind of doofy comic books, right? And so we're celebrating every factor, every faction of Superman. So you got the Dan Jurgens story, you got this awesome story by Patrick Gleason and Peter Tomasi. They're, of course, ending their run on the normal Superman title. A lot of this just reflects on the history of Superman. You got some great stories in here. Kurt Swan is in here with some unused artwork. A really nifty story by Richard Donner, the director of the Superman film, and Jeff Johns. A really cool story there about the dude that's in the car that Superman smashes on the cover of Action Comics #1. I really like the Tom King story. Scott Snyder's story in here is okay, but I love the way that he writes Lex Luthor. I think that's fantastic stuff. It's nice to see Jerry Ordway doing some stuff with Louise Simonson on here. That's a nice throwback. A Paul Dini story. There's a Brad Meltzer, John Cassidy story in here that I absolutely adored. But the big daddy at the end is the Brian Michael Bendis, Jim Lee story. Hey cats, calm down. Hey. Okay, sorry about that. But the big daddy is the Brian Michael Bendis is here. His first issue at DC Comics on Superman is here. This is it. It's the last story in here, and it's really, really good. It's a big, epic, giant fight between him and Supergirl and this new villain that's just now introduced. Artwork by Jim Lee, and it's working. It's like that Jim Lee of old, that snap, crackle, and pop energy of Jim Lee of old. The dialogue is spot on. I'm really, really intrigued with what Bendis is going to do. This was just a great celebration, but the biggest treat to me was the Bendis story at the end. I've been really looking forward to reading what Bendis is going to do with Superman, and I'm just going to say that the first lines of dialogue that come out of Superman's mouth from Bendis is, "Sorry about the mess." I think that's funny. I think that's cool. Superman number 45 is here. Speaking of the Boy Scout in blue. Anyway, Superman is here with issue number 45. I believe this is the last issue. We got a special coming up where Tomasi and Gleason are wrapping up a lot of their ideas and themes for the series. But Tomasi and Gleason have been doing a great job with Superman since Rebirth has started. And this is a nice, ending. This is a nice coda to their run. Basically, this is about the Kents leaving Hamilton, the farm where they've been living for a long time. So Rebirth has really taken Superman. And Patrick Gleason and Peter Tomasi and Dan Jurgens on Action Comics, they had the job of taking Superman from the New 52 when they tried to like kind of reimagine and reinvigorate Superman, and it kind of failed and it kind of got stale and boring very, very quickly. So they had this task to like kind of go back to the roots of Superman and fix everything, and they kind of did. And now they've set up Brian Michael Bendis' run so perfectly. This was a great issue, very touching, very heartwarming. If you're a fan of that series, you're going to love that issue. Batman is out this week, issue number 45, The Gift Part 1, starring Booster Gold. And it's a really good story. Seriously, writer Tom King has outdone himself here. I would be down for Tom King to do a Booster Gold series because I really don't like Booster Gold. Booster Gold was awesome in this issue. It's funny, it's quirky, it's an interesting idea. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. The opening of this book is just going to have you cracking up. But there's some, it's a fun, light story, kind of alternate future type thing. I'm not going to spoil too much, but Booster Gold is trying to get a wedding present for Batman. What do you give the man who has everything, who knows everything? He's Batman. What do you do? Booster's idea is the wrong idea. It's a terrible idea. He's made a terrible, terrible mistake. And I loved this issue. I thought it was funny with a nice, tight script and great dialogue. That's what I thought. Batman Creature of the Night number 3 is here from writer Kurt Busiek and artist John Paul Leon. This book has been great. It's basically about this dude who grew up obsessed with Batman comics, and he somehow winds up being able to manifest Batman into reality. And so he controls this dark, demonic bat force type thing, and he uses it to like take out crooks and things like that. And he models his life after Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's really interesting, and it gets really dark and psychological, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. Issue 3 is here. Well worth the wait because it is a bit delayed. Fantastic artwork from John Paul Leon. It's fantastic. Kurt Busiek is a hell of a writer. Super excited to be reading him on this story. Just a really rich story filled with emotion and darkness, and not in a dark way, but in like a real, like mature getting into the depths of a character. It's about Batman, but it's not. If that makes sense. But it's about Batman's effect on people. I don't know. This book was awesome. A nice little twist in here too. I've been loving that book. Absolutely. Batman, again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, number 6, the final issue of the second volume of the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover, and it's a great wrap up. I love this story. I love the first one, and I love the second one too. This big Bane story. Bane's gone into the Turtle universe and taken over the Foot Clan in New York City. I made Bebop and Rocksteady and all the other mutants they've combined the mutagen with Venom, and it's just crazy. It's been awesome. But one of the biggest highlights of this book has been Freddie Williams II's artwork. It's been phenomenal. He's been doing this artwork on these things, on the Turtles Batman crossover, on the He-Man Thundercats crossover. His artwork is just fantastic, bolstered by incredible coloring. And I don't want to not mention the colorist because the coloring on this is just so amazing. Jeremy Caldwell, his colors on Williams' artwork is just fantastic. That's seriously the highlight of that series, but it's also just fun. It's exactly what you think a Batman TMNT book should be. Brave and the Bold, number 3 is here, part 3 of a 6-part, I think, miniseries by Liam Sharp, starring Batman and Wonder Woman, all about like Celtic mythology and stuff. So it's a really cool story. It's very verbose, but the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. It's brilliant. It's textured and highly detailed, beautiful layouts. Liam Sharp is at the top of his game right here. Great stuff. Seriously, every page is just, you could look at it for hours. It's beautiful stuff. The story is nice. It's got a nice tie to some rich Celtic mythology that I think is really, really cool and puts the book in this real cool fantasy kind of world. And it's Batman, but it's Wonder Woman. So it's a detective whodunit story in this fantasy element, and it works really, really well. Seriously, Liam Sharp's doing some of the work of his career on that book. Super Sons is out this week. It's number 15. This is a nice, fun issue. I'm looking through it real quick to try to remind myself what happened. Kid Amazo comes back. That's what happens. Cool artwork, a nice, fun story. This book has been fun. It is sadly going to be ending very, very soon, but I hear that there are plans in the future. We shall see what happens, but Super Sons has been super fun. I only have a few more. I got a couple more issues to say that. So Aquaman is out this week. It's issue number 35. Dan Abnett's doing an okay job on Aquaman. I'm a huge Aquaman fan. I'm just going to be honest. The story's kind of boring me. It feels like it's been going on forever. It's like Aquaman's been trying to overthrow this new evil king of Atlantis forever. Issue after issue just feels like the same thing to me sometimes. That's my problem with the Aquaman book right now. Like, some issues are good, and the idea of the story's good, but it just goes on and on and on and on, and I think I need to go back and do a reread on that and see what happens. Damage number 4 is out this week, and this was the test for these New Age of Heroes books, because we know that that initial superstar lineup of artists, they're all leaving after the first few issues. I'm sure some of them will be coming back, but like Tony Daniel's not on this issue. He was actually on that Batman issue that Tom King did, and the artwork on that was really, really solid. Tony Daniel's getting better and better and better. So his pencils are highly missed on Damage, but you got Carrie Nord with a very different style, a style I'm not used to seeing from Carrie Nord. And at first, when he does these big double-page things, okay, so Damage is this giant explosive action book, right? And this issue, for the first half, doesn't feel that way, and it felt weird. And I was like, oh no, they're losing it with Damage. With Daniel being gone. But at the end, when the book really kicks up into some high-octane action, it captures that feel again. So another issue or two without Daniel is going to be, I'm going to have to see. But so far, Damage has been strong. This isn't as good as issues 1, 2, and 3. But by the end of this issue, for me, it really kind of captured that big explosive feel that I just loved from Damage 1, 2, and 3. Let's move over to Marvel, because I got that Spider-Man book out right now. This Red Goblin thing's going on. Have you guys heard about it? It's kind of cool. It's like Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, mixed with Carnage, the symbiote, right? Like 2 of the best Spider-Man villains ever mixed into one bag. That's got to be one bag of crazy, right? It's going to be super crazy and awesome fun. And it is. Dan Slott's final story on Amazing Spider-Man. Go down swinging. Stuart Immonen's artwork, I love it. I think this cat was born to draw Spider-Man. I love his stuff. This story has been really, really cool. And seriously, the Red Goblin is just the freakiest looking thing. I love the story. What happens in here is pretty interesting. What happens at the end there, I'm really pumped for issue 800 to see how it turns out. Is the Red Goblin going to be a temporary thing or an ongoing thing? Well, I would put money on temporary thing. However, the popularity of this character, the way it skyrocketed like crazy, I don't know. Marvel's got to be thinking hard about what they're going to do with the Red Goblin. I'm sure we'll know a little bit more about the future of that character in the next issue, but I'm loving Amazing Spider-Man. I think Dan Slott's going down swinging. So's Spider-Man. So's Norman Osborn. I'm loving it. Infinity Countdown number 2 is finally here. It feels like it's been forever. Anyway, this is basically a continuation of Gary Duggan, right? Gary Duggan's Guardians of the Galaxy run. So he's wrapping all this stuff up. He was building up to this big Infinity Wars story. So if you're going to read Infinity Wars, if you want your Thanos fix, if you want your Guardians of the Galaxy fix, you got to start reading this book, because this is what's going to lead you into it. This basically lets you know where all the Infinity Stones are, who has them, how they're changing hands. Lots of moving parts right here going around, and I don't think the way it's set right now with who has the stones is how it's going to wind up when Infinity Wars hits. But this is the story that's going to show all that shifting around. So if you're wanting to get pumped up for this Infinity event coming up later this summer, that's what you need to read. And it's actually pretty cool. I like it. Aaron Cutter doing the artwork. Great stuff. I like this Guardians of the Galaxy run. I went back recently and reread it and got caught up right into Infinity War or Infinity Countdown and loved it. I thought it was really cool, and I'm liking what's going on with it. Weapon H number 2 is here. I thought issue 1 was surprisingly good. I was still hesitant about picking up issue 2 because it was a huge week, as you can see here, and we haven't even gotten to the independent titles yet. But Weapon H number 2, almost didn't read it because it was so much, but I did. I'm glad I did because it was good. It was fun. The Doctor Strange characterization is a little hokey in here, but the Wendigos, the Weapon H, the Hulkverine, I like it. It's a big, fun, nice action slam bang fest with a little bit of drama and characterization in it, and it works. It's kind of like Damage over at DC, but not as polished. Plus, I didn't realize that those little like bone nodes or whatever on the Hulkverine like stick out into like claws. That's kind of cool. Venomized number 3 is here. So basically, Venom symbiotes get put on all these different heroes because you got the poisons. They're there and they're going to like take them over and all this stuff. And it's basically this big Cullen Bunn trilogy he's been doing since Venomverse into Poison X, now Venomized, and it's just a fun thing to read. It's an explosive comic book with big artwork, and it's exactly what you want from big, fun, boisterous comic book adventure for a Venom head. But it's just okay. It's not the greatest. Tales of Suspense wraps up. Matthew Rosenberg has basically been doing this Tales of Suspense story, 5 issues. This is issue 5. Hawkeye, Winter Soldier. They brought back, that's the reason of the book, right? We all know that by now. How she comes back is interesting, very interesting, because it's very interesting. But Matthew Rosenberg's been doing an all right. This has not been my favorite Rosenberg series. Foreman's artwork's been pretty solid throughout it. But I'm glad it wasn't an ongoing. But it was a fun read. I'm glad that she's back. And Tales of Suspense is just a little inconsistent. I don't know. I mean, Tales of Suspense was all right. It warrants a reread. It warrants a reread for sure. Avengers 689 is here, the second to last issue before Jason Aaron comes on. Oh, that's going to be awesome. No Surrender, part number 15. One more after this, but this is basically the end of the story. This has been a giant, big, fun story that introduced this new idea of the Challenger, the Grandmaster, and the Challenger, and all this stuff. And it's been a giant, big, epic Avenger story to kind of finish off the last few years of Avengers and set up something new for Jason Aaron. The next issue is basically going to be like an epilogue. But No Surrender's been super fun. I've been loving it, absolutely. Let's move over to some other companies. Vault Comics has a new one this week, Wasted Space by Michael Morrissey and Hayden Sherman, Jason Wordie, and Jim Campbell. This book was really, really cool. Great, cool sci-fi with a little bit of a snarky tone, a little bit of a satire on, like, say, religion and faith and things like this. So basically this dude sees the creator, and he talks about, the creator talks to him, and so he used to be like a preacher type thing, right? But now he's completely disillusioned with all of that, and he's in space just wasting away, doing drugs, drinking, having a good time, just trying to forget about everything and be alone and be miserable. But his past comes back, and is he crazy? Or does he really see the creator or something? It's just really fun, very funny, satirical, really cool sci-fi from Vault Comics. Again, Wasted Space #1. This book was really, really cool. It's got nice, gritty artwork by Hayden Sherman. It's loose, but everything is there on purpose. Like, all the lines make sense. I really like it. I like the concept. It's a really good setup issue that kind of gets everything really quickly set up and rolling and very efficiently. I really did like it. Jason Wordie coloring is amazing in it. Definitely want to check out Wasted Space if you get a chance, and if you don't see it at your shop, tell them you want Wasted Space. Tell them to stock Vault Comics because they're doing amazing stuff over there. Skyward #1 is a new one from Image Comics. I didn't really know much about this one going into it, but it was actually a really cool concept. The basic concept is that one day on Earth, gravity stops working. And then it picks up 20 years after that. So most of humanity has adapted. They kind of like fly around the towns now. They're weighted. They're like wearing weights to kind of keep them down, and they're tethered to the things and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting scientifically. I don't know how this is possible, but it does present an interesting conundrum for humanity to solve, because that seems to be the gist of this issue. The artwork is really solid. The artwork is by Lee Garbett. The writer is Joe Henderson. I really like the script. Antonio Fabella actually on the coloring too, and that works really, really well. I like the script. It's really tight, very loose and sparse in its dialogue, so it is a quick read, but the artwork is really cool and slick, and I like it a lot. And seriously, that's what happens when gravity stops working. And it's kind of neat, and there's some cool ideas in it, and actually, it's a very quick, brisk read, but I thought it was a really cool idea. A new one from Black Mass Studios called Survival Fetish. It's about this dude that does parkour, right? Because he lives in this world. It's in Honolulu. It's set in Honolulu, but a fictional Honolulu, where these gangs basically take over all these buildings, and they just shoot people if they're outside. And so this dude has the job, because he's so good at running across the rooftops and bouncing around and all that kind of stuff. His job is to transport things from one location to the other without getting shot and killed. And it's kind of cool. It's a black and white comic, but it is written by Patrick Kindlin with artwork by Antonio Fuso. The artwork is solid, and it's capable, and it does its job. The story is very, very intriguing, and it's a cool setup, and it's a cool idea for a movie or a TV series or something like that, where you could see the movement. That'd be really cool. The artwork is a little too small to really show off all the action that this book warrants. And seriously, a theme in comic books I noticed this week was parkour type stuff. People jumping across rooftops, jumping around buildings. It happens in Skyward, it happens in this one, and there's another book that it happens in. But beautiful, Survival Fetish is an interesting concept, interesting idea, has a really good hook at the end of it too. Her Infernal Descent from Aftershock Comics #1 is here. This book was all right. It's kind of like a retelling of Dante's Inferno as an allegory for depression and anxiety and mental illness and things like that. And that's interesting. It's got some really cool artwork from Kyle Charles. I do like the artwork a lot. Really cool, neat stuff there. I like the allegory. I like the idea of it, but it just felt a little stiff in the dialogue and in the flow of it. It didn't have a good pace for me, but it was a really neat idea that I just didn't think was quite executed well enough, at least for me. That's just me, though. Power Rangers is here because Shattered Grid has been amazing. Issue number 26 is basically the second part of Shattered Grid. After what happened in the last issue, the team is moving on, dealing with it. You got the Samurai Rangers in here. That's awesome. That's one of my favorite teams. Those are seriously my favorite Power Ranger costumes, so that's really exciting and cool. Lord Draken's plan starts coming into light. You understand what's going on. A lot of exposition to let you know how things are shaking out. You got the Pink Time Ranger in here. This is just a Power Ranger dream. Seriously, this is the crossover we wanted when they did Megaforce, and we're finally getting it. It's in comic book form, but Kyle Higgins is doing an amazing job with this book. Danielle Di Nicuolo, I messed that one up, but the artwork is fantastic. Great colors. It pops. Great action. And seriously, guys, the Samurai Rangers are in it, and I'm going to find a page with the Samurai Rangers because they are the coolest. They are so the coolest. There they are right there. Oh, all the different Power Rangers from all the different shows, all in one story, and Tommy's an evil bad guy. That sounds awesome, right? Infidel number 2 is here from Image Comics. I read Infidel number 1. There was a lot of hype behind this book. The creators, by the way, as soon as I can find them, maybe it's towards the end. I do not know off the top of my head who the creators of this book are. Oh man, where is it at? Here we go. Pornsack Pickashot and Aaron Campbell. And Jose Villarrubia and Jeff Powell is the letter. Seriously, I read the first one. There was a lot of hype behind it. I thought it was all right. So it's kind of like, it's a horror story, and it deals with like hate and like just like hate in the world and like just, you know, like bigotry and all that kind of stuff, right? And so it's a horror thing that's dealt with that, and I thought that issue 1 was all right. I thought it was okay. I thought it had the capability of something strong there, but it didn't really pull it off. But in issue 2, it pulls it off. This is seriously one of the best single issues of a horror comic I have read in a very, very long time. This is incredibly effective. Incredibly effective. The atmosphere, the tone, the melancholy. The main character is seeing all this crazy stuff going around, right? Nobody else is seeing it. She's starting to like lose it, and people are seeing it, and like the way that this happens and then how it explodes towards the end, it's wow. Wow. Seriously, if Mr. Miracle didn't come out this week, this would have been the pick of the week. Infidel number 2, Baloo number 1 out of the way. Wow. Wow. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Read Infidel. Number 2. Amazing. Seriously, if you're a horror fan, read that, because that is, I'll show you something from the very beginning, but the artwork is nice, gritty, realistic, dark, and seriously so effective when it gets to this stuff at the end. Whew. That's some good stuff. James Bond the Body, issue number 4 is out this week from Alesh Kott. Big fan of this guy's art, of this guy's writing, so I wanted to check out his James Bond series, because when a good writer's on James Bond book, you just tell me a good James Bond story, that's what you do, and it's good. And The Body's been that so far. It's been fun. They've been in like nice one-shot Bond stories, so you could just pick up one of them and read them just to see. But there's this overall theme about the different parts of his body. This is the heart issue, so it kind of deals with like love, the idea of the spy, can he have what he had, but it's not heavy-handed, it's not over the top, very subtle, very cool. It's a James Bond comic that's really cool. Quantum and Woody, number 5 is here to finish up the first story arc. Daniel Kibblesmith's been doing a great job on this. Kano's been doing an amazing job on the artwork. Kibblesmith is the writer. Those foil covers, vintage 90 foils, super, super cool. Seriously, the artwork, the coloring, everything about this book just blows me away. It's so fun. The characters are spot on. Great stuff. Nice wrap up to the first arc and a nice setup for the next arc. Absolutely cool stuff. Boom Studios brings us Lucy Dreaming, number 2, from Max Bemis, the frontman of Say Anything. He's a comic book writer as well. Doing a run on Moon Knight right now that a lot of people like, but this book right here, look at that artwork by Michael Dialinus. Amazing artwork, a really cool story about this girl named Lucy who has crazy parents. No, her parents did some like experimenting and all this stuff, and when she falls asleep, she basically goes into a quantum alternate reality, basically. So her dreams are things that she's actually experiencing, and it's just a fun, wild, cool comic book with amazing artwork, great dialogue, great concepts, cool ideas, and douche is as douche does. And if you read this book, you'll know what that means, and it's super funny, and it was an amazing issue. I absolutely loved it. Kick-Ass number 3 is here. It's a brand new Kick-Ass. A new person is Kick-Ass, a new story, a new setup, and everything. You could have never read Kick-Ass before. You could pick it up here and read it. It's a different story. It's a new thing. It's got a new feel to it, but it's still Kick-Ass. It's still cool. Still true to the roots of Mark Millar and Kick-Ass, and I like it. I like it a lot. John Romita Jr.'s artwork, it's a little rougher than usual, but I really have gotten into it. The new villain is introduced. Crazy things happening. I'm liking this book so much. The Spider King number 3 from IDW's Vikings. Vikings doing their little, like, you know, inner tribe wars, and then aliens fall from the sky and they get access to aliens' equipments, and then one of the big evil Viking guys becomes this giant spider alien hybrid crossover thing, and dude, doesn't that sound fun and wild? Because the comic book is. This book is super cool. Super, super cool. Another super cool book is Descender. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen, they are doing such an amazing job on this book. I love it. It's one of my absolute favorite books. This giant epic space opera talking about artificial intelligence, what is life, war, slavery, all these different themes all in this one nice story that's so fun, and I cannot wait until someone eventually turns this into a movie or a TV show like it deserves to be, because this is seriously one of the best pieces of science fiction I've ever read. Absolutely. Excuse me, man, my throat's getting a little dry. I got one more book to go over. I think I read like close to 30 books. I think it was like 29 books here. Highest House number 3 from Mike Carey. And IDW, the artist, who I can never remember his name off the top of my head, Peter Gross, and the colors, Fabien Alquier. Amazing stuff, great layouts, great story, fantastic dialogue, everything pops, it flows, it's good, really intriguing. 3 issues in, it's an odd size because it's magazine size, it's $4.99, but it's like 26 story pages, but there's so much story per page. Look at that, beautiful layouts, beautiful composition, beautiful artwork. An effective use of the comic book page, seriously, and it could only be told in a format like this. This book is something special. Great fantasy if you're a fantasy lover, if you just love good comics and good comics with great design sense, read that. Speaking of great design sense, Liam Sharp on that Brave and the Bold book, fantastic stuff. So I read a lot this week. Wow. What did you read? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. But pick of the week, once again, Mr. Miracle, but do not forget that Infidel number 2 blew me away. So effective, one of the best issues out this year, seriously. Those are some great, great comics. I had a blast. I thought it was a big week, but I thought it was a fun week. And I'm super excited. So thank you guys for checking out the video. Like I said, comment below. What did you read? What Action Comics cover did you get? Thank you guys for rocking with us. Keep on reading. That's it.